You're gonna hate me for saying this, but the Europeans are overtaking the NBA.
I don't give a damn about how this kid in Europe looks.
Feet is slower than rush hour traffic.
They believe in the fat boy. Yeah, don't bet against the fat boy.
I take Anthony Davis over Jokic.
Giannis. That face? To be the face of the NBA? No, not possible for him to be the face of the NBA. The only thing stopping Giannis from being the face is the fact that he's not American.
Out of 523 players who are registered in NBA, only 58 are Europeans, and that's all-time high in the history of the NBA. Before 2019, in 73 years of NBA basketball, only one time a European player won the MVP award. From 2001 till 2018, every All-Star game had maximum of 4 international players, but in 2022 we had 6 international players, and a year later there were 9 international players, which 5 were Europeans and 3 of them were in the starting lineups. The last 4 out of 5 MVP awards are held by Giannis and Jokic. And if you look the early odds for MVP for the next season, you will see some familiar names at the top. Also, all 3 of them are under 29 years old, so don't expect they go away in the near future. The Europeans took a leap now more than ever. Pau Gasol, who was the first international rookie of the year, said something interesting in a JJ Redick podcast. The perspective of the young European players has changed. It used to be, it would be awesome to become an NBA player or an NBA All-Star, but now it is, I wanna win a championship. This change of the perspective was started by one of the greatest coaches ever, Greg Popovich. San Antonio Spurs set an all-time record for international players on opening night with 10 during their roster in 2013-2014 season. Greg Popovich implemented a European style of constant motion and ball movement. This offense is based on a big man who can pass and a stretch forward who can shoot and make plenty of space for cuts. But this statement for Greg is disturbing for the NBA.
I steal plays from them all the time, very honestly. Coach Obradovic is somebody that I enjoy just watching the flow of his game and the way that the team passes the ball and moves. And so we've tried to incorporate, the passing game emotion where players and the ball move a lot and the ball doesn't stop too much.
By the way, this is one of the greatest coaches in the history of the EuroLeague. But why this is so disturbing? Greg Popovich coaching tree is just insane, from his assistants, former players and everyone who has been around Greg. If we just look the last 11 championships won in the NBA, 9 times in the finals were either Greg himself or just one of his students. By the way, Greg and his students won 6 championships of the last 11. The teams had great chemistry. Of course, some unicorn on their team, some of them a couple, but the idea of playing basketball with constant movement became so effective, and a large part of that is transformed from Europe. If the NBA is the best basketball league in the world, then how come some of the NBA players struggle when they come to play in Europe? Wesley Johnson, Emmanuel Mudiay, OJ Mayo and Anthony Bennett were all top 7 draft picks. I'm sure you all heard of these names. These are some of the players that went overseas to play in the top European clubs, and we didn't see anything out of them. The late Kobe Bryant saw this back in 2015.
Kobe Bryant on Friday night said that European players are more skillful than American players, and when asked to pinpoint why, he said horrible, terrible AAU basketball. Now, Bryant, of course, spent his formative years growing up in Europe and learned how to play the game there. And he said learning from coaches who had been taught by Tex Winter and coaches like that really helped to develop his game. Kobe said this is a problem that he hopes will be solved soon, but he realizes it is not a quick fix.
AAU for young kids has turned basketball in this popularity contest where guys just want to be featured on these sites and have their videos posted. The AAU teams don't even train together. They do a lot of travel and play 4 to 6 games per weekend. Yes, a pure talent can be seen, but the coaching staff is just letting kids play a downhill offense. The aspect of basketball when you learn to play as a unit, to do something bigger than yourself, or learn the fundamentals of playing as a team, is completely lost in AAU. A lot of former coaches and players suggest that working on your game by empty gym will be more effective than playing in no structured AAU basketball. This is a team sport, it's not just for yourself, and if that mindset is not gonna change, it's going to be a real problem for the American kids to adapt into the NBA. And on the other side, the Europeans are sprinting. The European players are learning every fundamental stuff, doesn't matter the size or the position you play. You're learning basketball in general, not specific position. But how these players come to the NBA have immediate impact of the game at such a young age. In Europe they have a youth academy starting from as little as 6 years old, and it's very different from high school in America and AAU. These youth academies are in property of the senior clubs like Real Madrid, Barcelona, and when they see a good potential in a kid, they recruit him to the older categories and let them play together. In the young age, the experience of playing with older players is very underestimated. They play in more physical environment, more fast paced, and they are no longer the best player on the team, so they have to find a way to be productive and impact their minutes for winning. Luka, Giannis and Jokic have all stated that scoring is easier in the NBA due to amount of space on the court and different rules.
The game in Europe is way harder than the game in the NBA.
Scoring is easier in NBA just because of the amount of the different rules, the less space.
Is it harder? Yeah, just because I think you need to really think about it and you need to have really quick thinking, let's say like that.
When the NBA made a survey with the famous question which player will you start your franchise with in today's NBA, not surprising, in the top 5 we have Jokic, Luka and Giannis, with Giannis at number 1 and Luka with number 2. Clearly the Europeans are running the NBA, but do Americans have a chance to break that streak and own their own league again? Going forward it will be stupid to not expect Luka or Embiid to win 1 or more MVP awards, and yet Giannis is expected to be the face of the NBA. I really see only one player that is not a European to win the award in the next 5 years at least, and that is Jason Tatum. Durant, Curry and LeBron are not getting any younger, so the US pride stays on Tatum. Perhaps and most importantly, the number 1 pick is coming, and it's Victor Wembanyama, talented French center, with some of the scouts are already placing him as one of the best young players in the history of the NBA. I guess Dirk Nowitzki, Paul Gasol, Tony Parker just set the stage for the young European basketball players, that anything is possible and they can storm at the league and placing enormous impact, or just overtake the NBA.